Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Peter, your stay-at-home DNNer. And in previous videos you will have seen that I explained how to set up DNN on your local development PC. So now you know how to get started, make code changes, and see how those code changes affect DNN. In this video I'd like to do a couple of those code changes, show how that works and how to then upload those to GitHub as a pull request to the core repository of the DNN platform. So let's delve right in. So one of the first things I'd like to do is to make sure that the installation that I'm working from, so my code base that I'm working from, is up to date, and make sure I'm not going to conflict with anything else that's happening right now, as it's happened since I started this intervention. And the way we do that is by checking out the develop branch of the core repository, that your local copy of that, your local clone, and then pulling in the latest changes from the core repository on GitHub. For that we pull upstream develop, right? So if you've like me have set it up so that upstream is the name for the core repository of DNN software, DNN platform, then you will pull in the latest changes from there, and that way I make sure that my local copy is completely up to date with the latest changes from the core repo. So there we are. Now it's all completely up to date. And at this point in time, we can reset the dev site, as I've shown a number of times how to do that, and make sure we are working off of the same code base. So I'm going to start my PowerShell and reset the dev site.
One eternity later.
And there we have it. All right, the website has been reset and we're ready to go. So let's have a look at the intervention we're actually planning today. What I would like to do is, there are two portal settings that have no UI. In the persona bar, there's nothing to control those two settings. One of them is called the inject module hyperlink, which is a Boolean, and the inject module hyperlink will do the following. If we bring up the site, just to refresh it, here it is. If I inspect the HTML of the site, you will notice that at the beginning of a module there is a hyperlink here, and it's got the name of the module ID. This serves a purpose, I don't know which, but it's there, and it used to be something that we could control in the old DNN, and in the new persona bar there's no switch that controls this, so I wanted to bring that back. And the second one is inline editor enabled. Now that is a more recent feature, so I'm gonna just log in here with host DNN host 1 and show you what this does. And if I edit this page, you will notice that here we have a small pencil icon, and when we click that, we can just type in our change inline and save it. That's called inline editing, and by default this is on in the DNN platform, but you can actually switch that off. So I'd like to bring these to the user interface, and the place where I thought I'd bring it up is under site behavior, and then more here. Here we have some space to add more settings. There's no real logical place to stick it anywhere else than under more settings here, where I recently implemented the enabling and disabling of pop-ups. So let's get started. We are going to search and for one of those settings first. We're gonna open up Visual Studio for DNN platform. It's going to reload those as I reset the entire project. And if we do a search across the platform for inject module hyperlink, right, which is the property is here actually in portal settings, you will see it is in various methods here to do with serialization and deserialization in the portal settings. There we go. And this is where it's actually being used in pane.cs, where if inject module hyperlink is there, then we're going to get this hyperlink injected at the top of the module. So look, one of the things I usually do, the way I approach this, is to look at something that is really and have a look at how that is implemented, and then copy that behavior and basically not reinvent the wheel for so many things. So one of the obvious candidates here obviously is to look at the enable pop-ups switch, which is also a portal setting at exactly the same level. So we do the enable pop-ups and do a find all of that, then we're going to see that we're actually going to get to a similar, we also see it in the portal settings. Here we should see it in the iPortal settings as well. There we are. In the iPortal settings and in the portal settings. And of course the thing where we need to implement it, because in the framework it's already being created, is in the persona bar, right? That's where we're missing it currently. It's in the DNN admin experience. So that would be in the extensions library, and the extensions library has a bunch of the way this works is you have all of these modules that sit here. So site settings, security, SEO, vocabularies, etc., and they are all quote unquote extensions of the persona bar. And one of those extensions then is called site settings, and that is in that project. And what it does is that it talks through Web API endpoints to this library, to the DNN persona bar extensions that we have here. And we have a site settings controller, and this will be where you will find the entry points for this. All right, so there's a React project on the front end that creates the UI and manages that switch. And when we talk to the server, we go through the endpoint. So now if I go to find enable pop-ups, you will probably see that it appears in this class, right? So that makes sense. So it's under get other settings, and get other settings is being used by the front end. Here we have the web call, and as you can see, what we get back from that method is, amongst others, this setting enable pop-ups. So what I propose is to start adding that already to the Web API endpoints and then go to the React project to implement it there. So let's go to enable pop-ups. So now we're going to go to do the inject module hyperlink equals portal settings dot inject. Hello, thank you. And we're going to do the same thing for the inline editor enabled, right? Because we're going to do both of those at the same time. There you go. 1, 2, 3 squiggly lines should disappear. And of course we need the place where this is stored again. And that is done, come on, in the update settings. So we're going to go to the request object. The request object is no longer an anonymous object, but it's structured. So we're going to go there, go to its definition. And I'm just going to add our variables here. Because I'm very lazy, I do a lot of copy and pasting. There we go. All right, now they're in there. So we do expect them back and forth. And we're going to update those settings as they come in. So inject module hyperlink and inline editor. Hello. And now what we should also do is to make sure we have the localized texts that we're going to be using in the user interface, and to have those ready at hand, meaning we need some kind of a title and some kind of a help text. So I'm going to start with the inject module hyperlink. Now where you will find these texts, it's under here, and the site settings at local resources, and there are the site settings. These are the resources that are used by the site settings module. And so the convention we've used is to use PL in front of the text to signify that that is the label for a control that is there. It's not absolutely necessary to stick to that, but makes it easier for everyone else to understand what it is we're doing. So the text is inject module hyperlink, and the help is when selected, when switched on, DNN will insert a, get the spelling right, will insert a hyperlink the start of each module with a name of the module ID. That should be clear enough. Then the other setting is this one, inline editor enabled. Go back here. Inline editor enabled. on, and then allows editors to edit HTML module content directly on the page instead of having to go through the edit control. Yeah, let's leave it at that. I think that should be clear enough. I'm going to save that resource file, and now we've done all the changes that need to be done in the Visual Studio project, and we can build, and that will all go to the dev site, and then we're going to start changing the React code so that it actually appears in the module. So I'm going to start, I'm going to hit build on this. That's going to take a while, so I'm probably going to cut some of this out, and then I'll see you back when this is rebuilt. All right, we're done rebuilding, and let's just double check that our DLLs have indeed been changed. We'll go to the DNN persona bar. Where is that? DNN persona bar. Here we go. Extensions DLL, and that's just been changed as I built this. So it looks to have updated all the DLLs in the web page. And once we've refreshed the web page, we will have loaded those new DLLs. Usually it takes a little bit of time. I just refreshed it already to reload those DLLs, and nothing should have changed obviously in the website until now. All we've done is just add some stuff to the back end. If you do want to see actually the result, it should already be here with the get other settings. We should have those new settings already in the response. So let's have a look. We see the inject module hyperlink here, and the inline editor enabled, set to true. All right, so far so good. We have stuff that is ready now to go to the front end. And right now I'm going to load up the front end in Visual Studio. I'm going to, in Visual Studio Code, I'm going to close off Visual Studio because I won't be using that anymore unless I need to debug something, but I'm just assuming that this code will work for now. Living on the edge. And fire up Visual Studio Code and go to DNN. There we are. And the project we're interested in is the site settings. The site settings project. And we are interested in the control, right? These are the containers, I believe. No, the components. Here we go. And it's the other settings, more settings. There you go. It's the more settings page. And if you're familiar with React at all, you will know that those files typically start with all the imports, what we're going to use. And then when the class starts, we have a constructor and some methods. And then towards the bottom, we always have the render method. And that is where we will find the HTML that is being generated. And so what we're going to do is we're going to actually look for the enable pop-ups part, which is here, which is that switch. And since we're basically doing the same thing, we're going to do a lot of copy paste and just change the name, and with a bit of luck that will have already taken care of our of the change that we're looking for. So we're going to do a second input group here. We're going to do there are two columns there in the interface. I'm just going to show you. So there are two columns here. There's a column here on the left and there's a column here on the right. What we'll do is we're going to do the inject hyperlink here, and then the or the enable. No, I'm going to do the enable inline editing here, and then the inject hyperlink on the right. Let's do it that way. All right, that makes more sense to group those two together maybe. All right, so let's have a look. We are going to, I'm going to need the exact wording again, otherwise I'm going to be very, very confused. Let's make sure I have that here. And I'm going to put that over here. All right. So I'm going to, all right, so we're going to go and paste that here, and that should take care of our inline editor enabled setting. And I'm going to put the other one in the right hand column. By the way, that's the not the left column, that's the right column. Ooh, good catch. There you go. And here we should have the inject module hyperlink. There we go. Can we format that correctly? Yes, we can. All right. And let's save that out. Now what we will want to do is to build this in debug to the site. So as I've shown in a previous video, what we will do is we will do a yarn, that's written with a Y, yarn watch, and then we're going to scope it to the name of the module we're after, so that we can find here in the package.json. It's site underscore settings. So site underscore settings. All right, looks like it's finished building the site settings. Now it's time to refresh the page, and hopefully we should see some switches come up. Let's have a look. There we are. We have some new content here. What I'm noticing already is that these localized texts have not come through. This did come through. The help text is good, but this is wrong. There should be spaces between the in this. So I'll need to check that out. I think it has to do actually with the PL that I injected in front of it. So let's try that again. Probably I should add this to it and add this to it. Control S. And now let's refresh that. There you go. That looks better. Spaces are there. Obviously, it built in the background as I made changes, because now I'm on a watch task, yarn watch. So it means that every time I make a code change in JavaScript, it will immediately rebuild and show me the result. So let's just test that. I'm going to disable the inline editor, which is currently enabled, right? So we still have the little pencil icon here. And if I click that, I can and save it. Now I'm going to go to site settings. I am going to switch off that. Come on. Yeah. It takes a while, doesn't it? This one? Nope. That one? Oh, all right. We have an issue here. Let's have a look. We are not binding to the correct thing. Our switch is... yes, of course. Our switch is bound to the wrong setting, meaning it's only going to take the value from enable pop-ups. That's why all those switches changed when we did that, and that is of course completely wrong. So inject module hyperlink. As you can see, you could do a lot of copy paste, but if you forget to paste in the right place, things will not quite work as expected. There you go. And site behavior, more. Now, yay. And I'm going to switch that one off. And I'm going to save those settings. Now, let's close this off. Let's refresh the page, because if I'm correct, the cache should have been refreshed, so that setting should have been updated, and it should already work immediately when we refresh the page. So now we have no more pencil icon. That's correct. And do we have the link? The link should also have gone. Let's have a look. Inspect the element. And indeed, at the start of the module, there's no longer the anchor with... Oh, it is still there. Ooh, okay. That is wrong. Let's reset. Make sure that we've actually reset this. Let's restart the application. That should completely clear out any caching. Let's see if it was a caching issue or if the setting change didn't actually work. I mean, it's good to know if it's one or the other. Nope, it's still there. Okay. So we're going to have to go into SQL to see if the setting actually changed or not. And we will go to site settings, and I'm going to go to site behavior and more. And we see that these things are indeed, I have inject module hyperlink is switched off, on, off. All right. Let's have a look. I am in portal settings. I am going to refresh the portal settings table here, and indeed inject module hyperlink is false. Possibly because actually that was not the only condition. The condition was also that we're not in edit mode. At that point in time, there should not be a hyperlink if we are not in edit. Now let's have a look, or even logged out. So let me have a look. Inspect element. And now indeed the anchor has gone. So yeah, no, I'm I was confused about how this works. The anchor will also show up if you're in edit mode. If you're not in edit mode, the anchor will definitely not show up. So there we go. That looks good. From where I am right now, that change looks good. I've tested this in development, and I'm confident that this works. It's brought to the front end now, those switches, and we can switch them on and off, and they do actually change the behavior of the website. So the next stage is to submit these to my own repository, create the pull request to DNN, and that will be the work for the day. So I'm gonna branch, first of all. How should we call this? Implement to settings. I'm not very creative with these names, but you know, everyone to his own. All right, let's have a look. What did we change? We changed the more settings index. We changed the site settings resource file. We changed the controller and the update settings request. Those are the files that we manipulated.
Going out with the kids.
Oh, all right. Yeah, you're just on the recording now. Okay, so I've added those to the stage changes. We're now going to commit those. Create a commit here. Commit message. Add. What were they called again? Inject module hyperlink and inline editor enabled to persona bar site settings module. Let's call it that. Commit. And now it's time to push this. So I'm going to do the implement to settings. That is going to go to my repo. Push that. There you go, being pushed. So that should now be on GitHub. We're going to go to GitHub. All right, we're on GitHub. As you can see, GitHub is smart enough to know that I just pushed some changes to a branch, and it prompts me to create a pull request. So the pull request is against develop. That is where I started, and it is indeed for my branch implement to settings. I'm going to call it add two more settings to the persona bar, and then do it here, adding inject module hyperlink and inline editor enabled to the site settings module. I am going to create a label for that. That's in the site settings module that we've changed it, and it's an enhancement. All right, that should do. Project is DNN platform, and I'm going to fill the milestone already. We are targeting 981. That I happen to know myself. For you, probably you won't know, so you'll just leave that blank. And that's it. At this point in time, I'm creating the pull request, and here we go. Now in the background, CI will attempt to build this, the changes, and it will give us feedback on whether this change actually breaks the entire platform or not. We will be able to check here what exactly it is that has been changed, what is being proposed. And if we need to drill further, we can also actually pull those changes in ourselves to our local dev machines and build it and see what it actually does. So I hope that showed you a little bit how we can make code changes and submit those to the core repository as pull requests. And hopefully you'll be motivated to get your hands dirty and start making some changes that you feel are necessary and submit those to the core repository, and we'll have a look at what you produce. Thank you very much for watching.